everyone. Thank you so much for joining our virtual Baltimore Tableau User Group today. My name is Sherry, and I'm one of the TUG co-leader. So this is our first virtual event in a while, and we're excited to see many new faces, especially you couldn't join us before for those in-person events, or if you are participating in a TUG event for the very first time. So I'd like to start with the agenda first. Um, we will first share a bit information about us and provide some recent updates from the Tableau community. We will be doing prize drawing. We will do these after each presentation. We have two exciting presentations today, one from Brian, one from Tu. And then at the end, we're really trying to maximize your experience. So we're trying some scene breakout room this time. So make sure you stay to the end if you're looking for some in-depth networking with either the presenters, some of the hiring managers, or we also have Salesforce employees on the call who can share some of the recent Tableau updates with us. I know some of you probably are new to the Baltimore TUG. I'd like to introduce our co-leaders. We currently have 4 leaders: Ryan, myself, Prem, and Tina. Tina, who joined us recently. Ryan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Ryan Kreisberg. I'm a senior database consultant with Clear Intelligence. Actually, Brian Moore is my supervisor. Hi, boss. Um, so, excited to be here, and welcome to Tina officially to your first Baltimore Tug as a co-lead.
And I'm Sherry. I'm a senior BI manager from Blend 360. We're a consulting firm. I have about 6 years of experience working in Tableau and delivering end-to-end BI solutions for my client. And Prem unfortunately cannot join us today. He's also from Blend. He's a client partner, and recently he is busy between work and also his schoolwork. He's actually currently enrolled in EMBA program with Walton Business School. So he missed this call today. And last but not least, Tina, do you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm Tina Cavelli. I freelance as an information storyteller, and then I also work in the asset management industry as a senior manager. I have a team and we do performance analysis. So my experience with Tableau and more broadly in business intelligence is across multiple tools, but I've been using Tableau for about 6 years, 7 years maybe. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thanks, Tina. Next, I'd like to talk about how you can get in touch with us. There's 3 social media channels you can find us. One is the Bevy page, is also the Tableau page when you RSVP this event. From this platform, you're able to see all our future and past events. And for those past events, you're able to see all the recordings and decks if available. So this is probably the best channel to follow us. We also have a linking group, and you can chat freely in this group and give us any suggestions or feedbacks after each event. We will also be sharing, if in the past in-person event, we share pictures through linking groups. We also have a YouTube channel where we upload all the recordings from each event. So some of the updates, we are actively looking for presenters, especially in-person presenters and organizers. So if you know anyone in your network, if you're interested in presenting at the Baltimore TUG, feel free to message any of our co-leaders. And then we know that in the DMV area, like DC, Maryland, Virginia, the Virginia TUG has been quiet for a while. For DC TUG, I don't think there will be any event for the rest of the year. So we do have a plan to potentially expand us into like a DMV tug, so we can have a bigger, stronger community that we can support and organize bigger events. But that just a thought at the moment. Feel free to let us know if you like to participate, or if you know any like in-person venue you would recommend in this area. And again, we're open to any suggestions to make our tug better. A survey will be sent out after this event, so feel free to share your thoughts if you have any. So I also like to talk about like Tableau User Group. I think starting this year, Tableau is really enhancing the entire Tableau User Group web page, and they're adding a lot more options. So I like to quickly talk about it. Can everyone see my web browser?
Yes.
Okay, so I like to just talk a little bit about this usergroup.tableau.com, where you can not only find our event today, but there's upcoming events that allow you to explore just what's available based on the date. So for example, like I was checking, there is actually a virtual event on September 20th. You can click into it and see like the presenter, the topic. So for example, this one, someone will actually talk about how you can document like a pro. So if you are struggling with, like you might be designing amazing visualization at work, but if you're having trouble knowledge transfer or doing the best documentation, this will be like a really good event for you to attend. So I just want to mention like this is available and you can check what's recent. A very good way for you to see what is the best user group works for you. And I think the community is growing. So previously we have a lot of user group that is broken down by region. But recently, as I looked, there are a lot more added by industry. So for example, you work for financial service, you work for healthcare. Those are like user group you can join to learn industry knowledge. There's also product focused. For example, AI is a big topic. So if you're curious about AI updates in Tableau, there's a user group for that. Similarly, if you are interested, let's say if you are, I know a lot of people attend today are student. If you're relatively new to Tableau, there's also like Tableau newbie group for you to join. So I'm sure you can find what's the best for you. So just want to mention this is something available on this user group site. And of course, we'd like you to follow our Baltimore Tableau User Group because we have some exciting plans upcoming. I also like to talk about some of the Tableau news. The 2024 Tableau Visionary and Ambassador Program, like it is announced, and we have altogether 49 visionaries selected this year, and we're fortunate enough to have one of them, Brian, join us today to give us an amazing presentation. Brian himself is also a public ambassador. He has a lot of amazing visualization on his Tableau public account. If you haven't checked them out, make sure you take a look after the event. Our other presenter too is also an ambassador. He is actually a social ambassador. Runs his own YouTube channel, and he's been presenting in different type of Tableau event, including some of the ones in Mandarin that I've attended a few before as well, myself as well. And then I myself is a forum ambassador, so I do go to forum and answer all kinds of Tableau questions. Especially I love answering calculation questions. So if by any chance you have any like Tableau roadblock at work, feel free to go to the forum, ask questions and tag me. I'm more than happy to support there. This will be the last slide before the presentation. So this is something I grabbed from a deck from Tableau. So based on whatever goal you're looking to achieve by using Tableau. There are some amazing resource listed on this slide, so I will make sure to include it. I won't go down all the details, but I'll make sure to include this slide in the deck I will attach after the event. So I know some of you today be here just to get inspired. Some of you want to grow your network. Some of you are actively looking for a Tableau or BI job. So there are some very, very good articles linked on this slide that allows you to just get a better idea how to achieve your goal. So I want to make sure I include this slide for your benefit. All right, let's welcome our first presenter, Brian. Ryan, do you like to introduce Brian?
Yes, as I said before, Brian is my supervisor at Clear Intelligence. He's there as a day-to-day resource if you need him to. He's a very supportive person. He's also just like a uh, basically a surgeon of Tableau. Like he can break it down into its component parts in a way that that most folks just feel like their mind is getting blown. So it's exciting to see him at work. For any of you that have seen his Tableau public profile, you've seen things like the Rubik's Cube viz and some of these amazing like artful ones that are like how we can play with color palettes. It's just very innovative work, and I'm very excited to see what he's gonna give us today. So, Brian, off to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ryan. Give me 1 second. All right, so hi everybody. Thank you very much for having me at the Baltimore User Group. Today I'm going to be walking through a technique that allows you to build an advanced simulation tool directly in Tableau. First, just a little bit about me. So my name is Brian Moore. I'm a team lead for the data visualization and analytics practice at Clear Intelligence, and I just love Tableau. I use it all day, every day at work, and I spend a good amount of my free time in Tableau as well. So as Ryan mentioned, I build a lot of pretty unique visualizations for Tableau Public. I also have a Tableau blog that I share with my wife, who is also a Tableau visionary, called domorewithdata.com, and I co-lead the Boston Tableau User Group. And I think because of some of these extracurriculars, Tableau selected me for their visionary program for the past 3 years and the ambassador program for the last 5 years. All right, so we're going to be building a simulation tool in Tableau, but more specifically, it's a tool that allows your users to perform what-if analysis. So this is a really common and extremely powerful decision-making tool that lets users explore different scenarios and understand the potential impacts of various decisions before they commit to any changes. If you Google what-if analysis in Tableau, you'll probably find a bunch of how-tos, but they're all pretty limited. So Tableau is an incredible data visualization tool, but it's not great at capturing and storing information. That's really just not what it was designed to do. It was designed to visualize data. But to build a really comprehensive simulation tool, we need to be able to do that. So we need the users to be able to make a bunch of changes, to be able to save those changes, and then to calculate and visualize the impacts of the changes. So most tutorials walk through how to do this with a single parameter. So you can change one measure, something like price, and then calculate the impact of that change. But what if you need to change two measures, like price and cost? I mean, you could do that with two parameters, but what if you need to apply different price and cost changes to different products or sets of products? You could just keep adding more and more parameters, but that's not really a sustainable solution. So at this point, I think when people are tasked with building this type of analysis, at this point, they would dump it into Excel and do all their manual calculations there. But I'm here to tell you there's a better way. We can do it directly in Tableau. So this technique is a little bit complicated, but it can be extremely powerful. And once you understand it, you can apply it to all kinds of different situations in Tableau. So I actually figured out this technique when I was building a fully functional version of checkers in Tableau, which you can check out my Tableau Public. I've since used it for several other Tableau Public projects and a number of client projects as well. So here are a few examples, recent examples from my Tableau Public portfolio that use this technique. There's checkers, as Ryan mentioned earlier, there's a fully functional Rubik's Cube. There's a Tableau drawing tool where you can click and draw directly in Tableau and then export all the coordinates and colors and everything to recreate it in your own workbook. And then there's this advanced what if analysis tool, which we're going to be talking about today. So I have a blog post on domorewithdata.com that covers this technique in much more detail and includes all of the calculations that you would need to do it yourself. So I'm not going to go too deep into a lot of the technical elements. I really just want to show you what the technique is, how it can be used, and give you a general idea of how to implement it. Then if you want to try it yourself, you can use the blog post for more detailed instructions. And the post is based on kind of a more complicated scenario than what we're going to cover today, but the technique and the calculations are pretty much identical. So I'm just going to do a quick demo of this version, just so it's clear what we're talking about. So here users can select which stores they want to include. So right now we're looking at all stores in Connecticut and Massachusetts. They can choose a single product, or they can choose a group of products, either by category, subcategory, manufacturer. I'm going to choose product. And this list of products will update. And then I'll just choose this refrigerator here. Once you select a product, you'll be able to see all the baseline metrics up here, like the current price, the forecast, estimated revenue, things like that. Under here, under the kind of scenario options, you can choose whether you want to enter an exact price or if you want to enter like a proportional price change. So if you're using, changing the price of an entire product category, you might want to say, I want to increase this category by 10%. So you can do that proportionally. Since we're looking at one product, I'm going to do this exact price. And then you can enter your adjustments here. So current price is 169. I'm going to 166. I'm going to set that to 175. You'll see that update up here, as well as the kind of change from the current price. And I'll throw a couple other things in here too. 5% for units. And then when you're done with that, you're happy with the changes, you can see the impact and you're okay with it, you can hit save, change, and continue. That'll drop down into the save selection section, and then you can pick another product and keep going. And you can do that for as many products as you want. So let me get back to the workbook. All right, so we're going to walk through a very similar but less complicated example. And again, everything that you need will be available on that blog post on Do More with Data. And actually, I'm going to go back to that for 1 second. And it's just called Advanced What If Analysis on Tableau. All right, so here's the data we're going to be using. So it's data for a furniture store. It's actually just a subset of the Superstore data, but it has product name, product category, the manufacturer, and the unit price, unit forecast, and unit cost for each of the products. So the reason I focused in on these three measures is that they're usually related. So if you were to change the price of a product, in most cases, that's going to impact the demand. If the cost of the manufacturer increases, that's most likely going to influence the price. So basically, changing one of these measures may also impact the other ones. So we want to build a tool that lets users adjust all of them together for any given product. And then we want the user to be able to view the overall impact of those changes to revenue, cost of goods sold, and profit. So the first thing we need to do is just calculate a baseline for those three measures. So based on our current price, our current forecast, and our current unit costs, these are our baseline calcs for revenue, cost of goods sold, and profit. So it's just a couple of really simple calculations. Let me get back to presentation mode here. It's a couple of really simple calcs to get to those baseline values. The next thing we need to do is to build out all of the options for our users and get these on the dashboard. So for this example, I'm going to set it up so users can select just one product at a time, but then they can do that for as many products as they want. So altogether, we're going to need 4 options, one for the product selection, one for the price change, one for the forecast change, and one for the cost change. So for the product selection, I'm going to use a set. Select the product there. And then for the other 3 options, I'm going to use numeric parameters, just formatted a little bit differently. These 2 as currency, and this one is a whole number. The blog post has a lot more information on how to set these up, but ultimately we want a set for the product selection and then parameters for everything else. I also usually like to throw a table there just with all the current values so the user has that for reference when they're making adjustments here. All right, so now we have a dashboard that lets users select a product and then enter a new unit price, a new unit cost, and a new unit forecast for that selected product. But next we need a method for capturing and storing that information. And this is really the kind of the heart and soul of this technique. This is what it's all built around. So basically we're going to build one very, very long string, and then we're going to use a bunch of calculations to parse that string into usable data. So here's an example of a string. So the full string is made up of 2 components. You have the current string and the saved string. The current string is a calculated field, and it's made up of the 4 options from our dashboard. So you can see the product, the price, the forecast, and the cost. The saved string is a parameter with all of the same information, but with all of the previously saved adjusted products. So in this example, the user has already adjusted and saved 2 products, product 1, product 2, and they're currently working on the 3rd, product 3. So each product is kind of a substring. It's bracketed on both ends by a post. And then each option within that substring is separated by a tilde. So the reason I use these characters is that they're not very likely to appear in a product name, so they can reliably be used to parse the data later on. So you don't have to use these characters, but you would want to use characters that aren't going to appear in the actual text of the dimension that you're changing. So basically each substring represents a product. It starts with a post, then the product name, then a tilde, then in our case, the price, tilde, forecast, tilde, cost, and then ends with another post. So there can be as many of these substrings as you want. You can keep adding and adding and adding and adding. The string will just get longer and longer. So to build out that full string, we just need a couple of calculations and a parameter. So we'll create a parameter just called string saved. And then for calculations, the first calculation just returns the value of whatever is selected in that product set. So it's just an LOD that takes the min value of the product set. It's important when you're setting, when you're putting that set on your dashboard that you only allow a single value to be selected. If somebody tried to adjust or select multiple values, it's only going to return the min value. So you want to make sure that they're only able to select one product at a time, so it avoids confusion. And then if there's nothing selected in the set, so if nothing's been done yet, then it just returns a blank instead of a null. The reason for that is that if you've ever tried to build like a concatenated field and one of the values is null, it sets the entire thing to null instead of just being a blank. So this just converts the null to a blank. So it doesn't wipe out the rest of the string. The second calculation builds the current string substring with all 4 of the what if options. So you have the current product. So this is what's selected in that set. plus a tilde, plus the unit price, tilde, forecast, tilde, and then the new unit cost. One thing to point out about the numeric options is we're casting these numbers as strings, but really difficult time doing that with decimals. So in my calculation, for any numeric parameter where they might enter a decimal, I'm multiplying by 100 and then rounding it just to turn that decimal into an integer, and then we'll turn it back to a decimal later on. So it's just for building the string. And then our last calculation just combines the current string with that saved string. So if you remember, here's the current string plus the saved string. So this is what's in the parameter. This is what the calculation based on what your current selections are. All right, so the next step is to build a mechanism to actually save the changes. So we need something to take our calculations and update that saved string parameter when user is ready to save their changes. So to do this, you just create a new worksheet, call it save changes. I like to just use a square and set the size all the way up, but you could use, custom shapes if you want to design your own nice buttons. You could use text boxes, basically anything that the user can click on. And all you need to do with this sheet after you design it is take that string full calculation, which is the combination of the parameter and the string current, drag that to detail. I'm also going to create a calculated field called 0 that is literally just a 0, bring that to detail, and I'm going to drag my product name set to detail as well. And I'll show you why I'm doing that in just a minute. All right. So next we just add that to our dashboard, and then we're going to add a parameter action that passes that full string value to the saved string parameter. I also like to add a few other dashboard actions that just reset all of the selections. That's why I drag those other fields to detail. So if you look at the dashboard actions here, there'll be a total of 4 of them. So this one is to save the changes. This one is to clear out that set. So when you click save, this is going to go back to null. And then these 3 set these 3 values back to 0. So each time you save a product, you kind of start with a clean slate for starting in the next product. All right, so now that our actions are in place, we can see the string being built in real time. So here's that string current calculation, the first part of that full string. So you can see it has the product name and then all 3 of these values. So if I start changing these, you'll see this update. So current price is $8. I'm going to raise this to $8.50. You'll see that changed to 850 because remember I multiplied by 100 and rounded it. We'll drop the forecast down to 60. So you'll see that update there. And then the unit cost will bring up to 195. And then if there are no changes for one of these, you can just leave the 0 and we'll adjust that later. So actually, let's just say that there was no change to cost. All right, so here is that calculation with these. The string full is a combination of that parameter and that calculation. So you can see here, there's nothing in the parameter yet. So it's just this and a post. But as soon as I click save changes, this string full is going to move down into the string saved parameter. So now this is saved and I can move on to my next product. So now this product is in the string current. The string full is a combination of the current and the saved. And then the saved is what we've already saved, which was that previous product. So I'm just going to go kind of quickly and make a couple more changes so we have some data to work with. All right, that should be good. I'm just going to select one more product here. All right, so now we have 3 saved products and we have a 4th product selected that we haven't started adjusting yet. All right, so this is how we're capturing all the inputs of the user. So they can make as many, or they can make changes to as many products as they want. That's you to grow and grow and grow. They could choose 100 products and you'll just have one really long string, but all of that information will be captured somewhere. Eventually, you may experience some performance hits, but I've used this a bunch of times. I've had strings that are tens of thousands of characters long, and the performance has been surprisingly good. All right, so we have a few saved products now. The next step is to parse out that string into actual usable data. So I'm going to go through these calcs pretty quickly, but just remember all of these are available in that blog post. All right, so the first calculation, we'll call it parse product, checks every product name to determine if it's in that string, meaning the user has selected it and they've made adjustments, it exists in that string. You may notice that this is looking for the product name with a post before it and a tilde after it. That's how we constructed our string. And this ensures that it is an exact match. So it has to be a post, that exact product name, and then a tilde. If you have similarly named products, there could be a situation where you get like a partial match that would be returned if you didn't put these characters in there. And as you can see here, for the products that we saved, the product name is returned. And for everything that's not in that string, we have a null value. The next calculation, I call it parse product string, is going to use regex, and it returns that full substring for each product. So it uses that parse product calc that we just used, and then it returns everything from that full string between that product name and the following post. So you can see for all of our adjusted products, we have all of the information from our user. We have the product name and then our 3 measures. And then everything else is null. These next 2 calculations are kind of optional, but I would really recommend them. They're really just to calculate the order that things were added. It makes things a little bit easier when you're building your dashboard. It lets you separate the current string and the saved string. It lets you order them so people can find their changes more easily. I like to use the reverse order, so the most recent changes will appear at the top. But the way this is calculated is basically that there's one calculation that returns everything to the left of that string in the full string. So it finds the position of that substring in the full string and then returns everything to the left of it. And then the second calculation counts the number of posts in that substring. So in this case, this is the first one in the list. So there's just that one post before it. If you count that post, it's 1. Here, there's 1 product before it. So if you count those posts, there's 2, 3, 4. That lets you calculate the order that things appear in that string. And then the last thing we need to do is just parse out those numeric options. So if we look back at our original calculation, when we were building that string, the order in which we had things was the product name first, and then the price, and then the forecast, and then the cost. And we can use Tableau's split function to easily pull out each of those values from our product string. So the counts are going to be pretty much identical. Really, the only thing that's changing is this last number here, which is the token number. So the price is the second element in the string, so we're going to use 2. The forecast is the third element, so we'll use 3. And the cost is the 4th element, so we'll use 4. So it's using that tilde to split that substring into 4 different pieces and then returning the one that we want based on the token number. And then for those measures that we multiplied by 100 earlier to get rid of those decimals, we're just going to divide by 100 now to turn it back into a decimal. And the int here is because we're pulling this data out of a string and we want to convert it back to a number. So you can have as many options as you want. So here they had 3 different options. I mean, you could have one for every single measure. You could have 100 in there if you wanted to. I wouldn't really recommend it, but you could, and these calculations would be exactly the same. So basically, once you're able to isolate that substring using those first 2 calculations, the rest of it, it's really easy to break that into usable data. So now for all of the products that we adjusted, we have the parsed out values. All right, so I'm guessing I probably lost a few people through that. I know this is a little bit complicated and we kind of rushed through it, but the good news is that all of the hard work is done. So we built in all of the capabilities. Users can adjust and save as many products as they want. And then we built out the logic to parse out all of that data into usable fields. And now all we have to do is apply those changes. So first we need to calculate our new unit price, our new unit forecast, and our new unit cost for all of our products, not just the selected ones. So our first calculation is just a simple Boolean calc to see if that product is in our string. And we already did the work for that one with our parse product calc. So this calculation is just checking to see if that field is null or not. If it's not null, then product exists in our string and the value would be true. If it is null, it's not in the string and the value would be false. And then the calculations for our measures are pretty much identical. So the first part here, if the product hasn't been adjusted, so it's not in the string, then use the original value. If the value entered by the user is 0, it means that they didn't make an adjustment to that specific measure, they just left it alone. So in that case, again, we want to use the original value. And if neither of those are true, it means that the product was selected by the user and they entered an adjustment for that measure. So in that case, we're going to use that parsed out value that we calculated in the last step. And then just like we did earlier, we're going to calculate our 3 KPIs. So we had our baseline revenue, cost of goods sold, and baseline profit. Now we're just going to swap out our original values with our adjusted values. And the calculations are exactly the same to get our adjusted revenue, adjusted cost of goods sold, and adjusted profit. And then finally, we can calculate the impact by comparing the baseline KPIs with our new adjusted KPIs. And that's it. So I know it's a little bit complicated at first, but the blog post really steps through it all step by step. And once you understand the technique, it's pretty easy to implement and you can use it on a pretty wide range of situations. There are a couple of other finishing touches that I typically put in these dashboards. So you can visualize this data any way that you like. The calculations are very simple, so they can be aggregated to any level. This certainly isn't pretty and not something I would ever deliver for a client, but I threw it together real quick and it does have a few of those important elements. So I always like to show the measures for the product that they're currently working on. So they have it for reference and they can see the impact before they save it. So they can keep modifying and tweaking before they save. So up in this top right, you can see what they're currently working on, the current values, all the adjusted values. And then if I was to make any changes here, you would see the delta to those values here. Then I like to have a table that has all of the save changes. So they have that for reference. They can go back to it afterwards and say, these are all the things that I adjusted. So you can see that here, and then some type of summary to show the overall impact, which could be just a grand total or its own visual. And then one important aspect of this table is that I always add an option to remove a saved change. And that can be done with a simple calculation and a parameter action. So if I decide I don't want to change this one or I want to edit it, I can just click remove. That'll remove it from the string completely and it'll drop out of that table. And then up here in the product selection, I always add a filter that removes products that have already been saved from the list. That way users can only adjust each product once and there's no confusion. And if they need to update their change for a particular product, they can just remove it and then select it again. And then one other piece on this save button here, I like to use dynamic zone visibility, so it only appears when a measure has been changed. So like we don't want a user saving a change when they didn't actually change anything. So this save button won't show up until one of these parameters are updated. And then finally, I like to add a reset button just in case people need to start over for whatever reason. So clicking this button here uses those same actions as this one just to reset all of these values here, but it also clears out the entire string. So they have a clean slate to start over with. All right, so I think that's everything. Please connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter, and you can follow me on Tableau Public. And if you decide to give this technique a shot and run into any issues, like please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm always happy to help with Tableau questions. So you can DM me on Twitter or LinkedIn. And speaking of questions, I'm not sure if we have time, but if we do, I'm happy to answer some.
A quick one for you, Brian. And I kind of already know the answer, but could you expand a little bit about how you might take this a step further and sort of save outside of Tableau or propagate outside of Tableau the analysis performed inside of Tableau, how you might get that into a database or exported, that kind of thing, how you can make use of it after you've done your analysis.
Sure. So yeah, another thing that I typically do, which I didn't have on this version, but you'll see it here, is I'll have another dashboard with the adjustments. So it's at the product level, it has the current price, the new price, so you can export that pretty easily, upload it wherever you need. Another thing that users may want to be able to do is, come back to an analysis that they're doing. So there's a couple of things that you can do there. One, you can leverage the saved views. If you're on Tableau Server, Tableau Cloud, you can save that off as a view and come back to it. The other thing you can do is add an export button for that full string. If you export that full string and then make that parameter visible here, then the user can just paste it back in there and everything will populate.
Brian, for the remove technique, is that something quick to share? I'm very curious how you achieve it because it looked like it's achieved in one worksheet.
Oh, I already cleared out everything.
Oh.
Let me back up a little bit. Okay, there we go. Yep, so let's see. Nope, that's the wrong table. Save changes. All right, so to actually build the table, I don't know if you've ever used this trick, but basically I have a bunch of min zeros up here. It just gives you a little bit more control over how you can format these instead of just a regular table. And it also gives you the opportunity to just have a text here that says remove. In reality, if you click anywhere on this line, it'll remove it, but people typically navigate to the remove button. You could put a blank over the rest of it so people don't accidentally click somewhere else. But the calculation is, I call it string remove. And it just looks for that parse product string, which is that string with all of the options. There was that second calculation that we did. It looks for that in the saved string. And then it just replaces it with a blank.
Ah, I see. This is really cool technique. Thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have any questions? We are sharing the two relevant link in the group chat. So the step-by-step blog post and also the link to the dashboard itself. If anyone want to save it and read it later, I'm sure, because this is one of the advanced analysis you can do in Tableau. But thank you so much for sharing, Brian. This is amazing. I see how much crazy amount of details you put in there. The save and continue, the reset, removal, and how like the entire layout is just designed for best user experience for sure.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We're going to do a quick prize drawing here before our next presentation. Tina, if you want to share the screen.
Yes, one thing we're gonna do really quick because I had some people leave. I just lost a couple of them and they're still on here. So I'm gonna do my best, but if you don't see your name and you call it out, that would be much appreciated. I think I just saw someone named Bill. Join. And then I think I missed one other, but if you do not see your name, please let me know.
So we're drawing 2 winners to give out a Tableau store gift card. If you are the winner, make sure you leave your email address in the chat, and we'll make sure to deliver the gift card to the address you leave in the group chat.
Oh, we're doing it now. I'm sorry. Great.
The first winner is Akshay.
Are they still here?
Yes, he's sitting right next to me.
Oh, perfect. All right. Well, one person done. I'll remove you from the next draw. Great.
Okay, so now let's welcome our second presenter, Tu, who will be sharing his presentation on the topic of better dashboard, start with prototyping. Tu is a data visualization designer at Caterpillar, where he uses Tableau, Figma, and Snowflake to support aftermarket part sales. So as I mentioned earlier, Tu runs a YouTube channel promoting visualization literacy for Mandarin-speaking Tableau users. I've attended events where he presented to Chinese Tableau User Group, and today's presentation was selected to be showcased at Tableau Conference 2024. So if you missed it then, this is a great opportunity to catch up on this amazing content. Tu, I will let you share your screen.
Yep, awesome. Let me just quickly share my screen. Yeah, so give me 1 second here. Yep. Also, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep, awesome. Yep. So hello guys. My name is Tu. So thanks for the kind introduction, Sherry. So without further ado, let's dive in. Yeah, so in today's agenda, first of all, I'm gonna start with a knowledge check on what is prototyping and why is it important. And then I'm gonna talk about what was our original Viz development process look like and some of the pain point we used to have. And after perceiving those pain points, I came up with the solutions of optimizing our process. And I'm gonna talk about the value we get after incorporating prototyping into our process. And then also, we are not gonna just talk the talk. We're gonna put everything into real life practice. So if you wanna apply this technique or this framework into your organization, please also feel free to do it. And last but not least, we're gonna do a recap and to review what we have learned. So a brief intro on myself. My name is Li-Lun Tu, and I go by Tu. So I'm originally from Taiwan. So I study finance at Shenzhen University. And so I remember that in my junior year, I was an intern at a public financial company. And then I realized that, hey, that's not the industry I want to stay at. So I decided to pivot. So I pivoted into data analytics. So I got the offer from Illinois Tech in data analytics, so in Chicago. And that's when I found Tableau in 2020. So I've been using Tableau for 5 years now, and it's been amazing. And after graduated from my master's, I got an offer from Caterpillar as a BI analyst. And typically I call myself data visualization designer because I think it's more literal and more intuitive. So I've been working for 3 years now. So let's switch gear to the presentation. So what is prototyping? Prototyping is a quick way to go from sketches or wireframe to a simulation where you can get users' feedback. But some people might be asking me, why is it important? The reason why it's important is because the goal of a prototype is to make sure that your design work in the hands of the user. And getting feedback on a prototype is one of the easiest and cheapest ways to get users' feedback before you spend a lot of resources building something that might not fit your users' needs. So in the past, our Viz development process looks something like this. And then I'm gonna break it down into 3 pieces. First, our business partner would create mockup for our team. So basically, business partners, they will discuss their needs on their own. And then once the conversation was finalized, they piece everything into a PowerPoint mockup and then send it to our team, which is BI team. And then after the BI team received the mockup, our developer would start creating visualization using Tableau, create Tableau visualizations based on his or her own visualization skills. After completing dashboard development, the dashboard developer would set up a meeting with with the business partners, and based on the feedback, just talk about, hey, how do you like this dashboard? What's your feedback? And after the feedback, the designer will make the changes accordingly. So this was our typical process. And then you might be thinking that, hey, this is a really normal process, isn't it? But what's the pain point? So actually, we perceived 2 main pain points. The first pain point was we receive way too much feedback. Because the business partners, they will have to create a raw mockup, and then they are not trained on data visualization technique. It resulted in a huge expectation gap on both sides. So as you can see on the example on the right-hand side, there's a pretty decent dashboard, I would say, but the conversation from our business partner were like, hey, imagine that the business partner, they want to create a KPI on the top left corner. They'll just go on the internet and then search KPI and then go to the image portion and then screenshot the KPI and then just do some copy pasting into PowerPoint. And then by using this copy and paste technique, they send it to our team and then say like, hey, BI team, this is what I want. This is what I need. But actually, this does not exactly capture what they really want. The second pain point was we had tight project timeline. Because we put the feedback session as your last step, it creates a lot of uncertainty for the project. Let's say if the user, they propose significant updates, like, hey, I don't want this chart type. Hey, actually this KPI, we don't measure this KPI anymore. It's gonna cause a lot of mental pressures on both sides. And I can tell you, if you're working in tech, if you're working in software, burnout is real, and then I'm not a big fan of it. So what I was thinking was, okay, so in order to solve these problems, I need to come up with the solutions of optimizing this process. And then this is what the process looks like. So first, instead of telling our business partner that, hey, send up your PowerPoint mockup, we want business partner to describe what problem they want to solve. So the business partner would tell the BI team the background and then the scope of the project. And then the professionals on the BI team will become the consultant instead of just simply developers, aka request taker. And then the BI team will start creating mockups for our partners plus getting feedback. So we are going to consult with our partners and write out a goal as well as the requirements. And then the step would look like this: sketch your dashboard design, create lo-fi mockup. getting feedback from our business partner version 1, start creating hi-fi mockup, feedback version 2, and then push it down into dashboard development. And then after creating hi-fi mockup for dashboard development, developers only need to create visualization according to the mockup. So that was the framework I was talking about. And then right now, I just don't want to talk the talk. We want to put everything into real life practice. And then if you want to apply this framework, and you can also apply it into your team, into your organization. So the first step, what you have to do is to be the champion for change. And then you need to get leaders buy-in in the first place. So what I did was I set up a meeting with my manager, and then I shared the pain points of our current this development process. Just talk through the pain point you are experiencing. The main pain point is that the current process is costing companies additional time and money, and then propose a process optimization change in order to work more efficiently and effectively. And then of course, your manager is going to ask you, okay, so what's your solution and then what's your vision? What's your roadmap? So I propose a roadmap for my managers, including the value we can get after incorporating prototyping in the workflow. And then most of the time your manager is not going to be 100% 100% passionate about this process. So we are always going to start with a MVP, minimum viable product. So I remember that when I first implementing prototyping into our process last year, we started with a very small project, and then it was a huge win for us. And then we started completing some experiments and get users feedback. And then I would say our business partner were super happy about this process. But I can tell you, each organization has different dynamics. So I would recommend everyone testing things out, because this process can be different according to different organizations. And the second step, what I would do is we're gonna use a framework called Understanding the Context. And then this framework is inspired by the book, the big book of Dashboard. So first of all, let's start with the big picture. What is the purpose of the dashboard? I typically consult with my user and then start with the question, hey, could you use 2 or 3 sentences to describe what is the purpose of the dashboard? This will help you to have a basic understanding of the business and also not derail the conversation when working with your business partners. Because typically, the problems I used to run into was, we had a lot of requests, and then your business partner would say like, hey, I have idea A, idea B, idea C, and then by asking this question, you're gonna focus on one primary goal, because as you focus on one dashboard, as you develop one dashboard, you're gonna have more and more questions after that. The second piece is the specifics. What are the questions needing to be answered in a dashboard? And I typically write down bullet points to make sure that we capture all the requests. And the framework I use is the user would like to do action A to accomplish result A, outcome A. The user would like to do action B to accomplish outcome B. So this is something I document in my Figma documentation or Excel documentation to make sure that I capture everything. And then right now, I'm gonna do a quick case study to apply this framework. And then I know most of you guys are familiar with the data set, Superstore data set. And so Superstore data set is Tableau standard data set. So we're gonna use this as a case study. So in our big picture, let's say the Superstore sales dashboard allows a sales rep to track current year sales and profit performance versus last year's. And then the dashboard helps a sales rep know if they're winning or lagging behind. Okay, so this is the big picture. And then I started asking some questions like, hey, what's important for you? In looking at those information, what KPIs are important? And then in looking at those information, what action would you take? So by asking those questions, you can understand the business more. And then I got several specifics. First, the user would like to see sales and profit a year-to-date versus last year-to-date comparison. Sales and profit broken down by month. Sales and profit broken down into several dimensions, such as segment, category, and subcategory. So this can be a drop down, right? Parameter drop downs, allowing them to, swap the dimension. And then the last one, the data in a cross tab, allowing reps exporting into Excel for additional analysis. I can share with you, in the past, I used to think that, hey, cross tab was evil. But right now I can tell you, in our organization, I realized that a lot of people do not have, because of the security issue, a lot of people, they do not have the access to the dashboard. So our organizations, our internal team members, they have the access to our dashboard and then export the information into Excel and then send the Excel file to our customers. Can be dealership, can be dealer, can be our customers. So in order to convey data information to our dealer and customer, Excel spreadsheet can become the only vehicle, because some of them, they are not able to access our dashboard. So just want to let you know this information. So after collecting the big pictures and the specific, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna start brainstorming. And what I suggest is to start sketching your design. You can do some drawing on the whiteboard, and in this case, I just do some drawing on the paper. And then I've been thinking one question, like, okay, so what is the best way to represent the data on a dashboard? And this is something I came up with. So you can see on the top left-hand side, I have two KPIs with monthly bar chart, which shows the sales and profit a year-to-date versus last year-to-date comparison, and then the sales and profit broken down by month. On the bottom left, I have two bar charts showing sales and profit broken down into different dimensions, such as segment, category, and subcategory. And on the right-hand side, I have a data cross tab, allowing user to export it into Excel for further analysis. And then once I finish my sketch, I feel like, hey, this is good enough. Then I'm gonna move everything into lo-fi mockup, which is something like this. Okay, so on the top left-hand side, you can see I have two KPIs year-to-date versus last year-to-date, and then the percentage delta, and then the monthly bar. At the bottom left, I have the metric breakdown by a drop-down, and in the first and second columns, I have sales year-to-date as well as profit year-to-date. On the right-hand side, I have the data export. And then this is when I set up a meeting with my business partner and say like, hey, I do have a lo-fi mockup ready, and then I do want to get some feedback from you. So I set up a meeting with them, walk them through, hey, what was the big picture, what was the specifics, and just walk them through the dashboard and just tell them, hey, this dashboard. So on the top left, what question can this visual answer? And then I ask them some follow-up question like, how do you like it? And then how do you not like it? And then if there's anything missing, how can we make it better? And then they're gonna give me a lot of feedback, and based on those feedback, I can better refine the dashboard. And then after several iterations, they think it's good enough, then we're gonna move everything into hi-fi mockup. So in the hi-fi mockup, I put some color, adding some item hierarchy inside. But right now you might be thinking, hey, Tu, why are you using color red and green? Because according to the book Storytelling with Data, 10% of men, 3% of women are red-green color blindness. But I can tell you from a very real-life perspective, in our organization, a lot of business partners, they're obsessed with the color red and green. They really want to use green as positive, red as negative, and this is not. It's hard to change human behavior. And then what I was thinking was, okay, so if we could not change the color, how could I make those colorblind people, more quickly to recognize the pattern, to know if we are winning or losing. So that's the reason why you can see that in the bar, we have upper arrow and down arrow, right? So upper arrow represents winning, down arrow represents we are losing. So by looking at the shape of the shape of the arrow, they can quickly recognize the pattern. So that's how I accommodate the some of the obstacles. Yep. So and then when I have this hi-fi mockup, I set up another meeting with them and say like, hey, this is hi-fi mockup, and then how do you like it? How do you not like it? If they are satisfied with the dashboard, I told them that, okay, so this is what it's gonna look exactly like what it has on the dashboard side. So I need your confirmations on everything, because we're not gonna change everything on the design level. We want to capture everything on a prototype level. And then they say, okay, I confirm that I like it, push it down to dashboard development. And after that, we are gonna go to the mockup handoff phase, which is development phase. So when in the design hands-off, after getting sign up from our business partners, I set up a call with the developer, or sometimes it can be myself, responsible for designing and developing dashboard. But in this case, let's say if you have to hand it over to your developer, I have to walk them through what I have talked about with my business partners. Also talk them through the dashboard techniques that will be used if they have any question. And then I find this especially helpful because sometimes junior developers, they are not good at designing. They are not good at designing dashboard, but they are good at developing dashboard. So in this case, it's also a good opportunity to let them learn how to design a great dashboard, how to make it easy to understand. And then also, I will set up a regular check-in session with my dashboard developer. So set up regular check-in session. The purpose is to make sure that the progress of the dashboard development is on track. And then just want to make sure that we do not have any technical blocks, or just want to make sure that the dashboard spacing, typography, color are all the same as the prototypes. Because one interesting I found was sometimes the developers, they do not have the same eyes as a designer's eyes. So sometimes from an element spacing perspective, they might lose a little bit, spacing, but according to, the design proximity rules, if they miss some spacing, it's going to drastically change the look and feel of the dashboard. So this is something that's the purpose of a checking session, to make sure that everything is aligned, and then we deliver quality products. So overview, so in order to optimize our process, we have 6 steps. First of all, we want to get leaders buy-in. To want to make sure that, hey, your leader is aware of your visions and roadmaps. And we're going to start with the MVP. And then by understanding the context, we need to start applying the framework, the big picture, the specifics. And after capturing all those requirements, we want to start sketching our dashboard design. And then move it down to low-fi mockup. After getting some feedback, move it down to high-fi mockup. And at last, move down to dashboard development. And then from a process improvement perspective, there's 3 things. There's 3 things. So we receive 3 big values that we get out of this process improvement. The first one is we have better quality, better trust between the teams. So because right now the mockup is designed by our team, by the BI team, which has better quality. And also because we push the review process ahead of development phase, the changes are quicker, because let's say if they want to move some KPI or move some chart type, it can be easily done on the design level. So in this case, I'm using a tool called Figma to make some design changes. So it can be really easy to make updates. And second is better timeline management. By capturing all the requirements from a hi-fi mockup, the developers, the project manager, they have better control on their progress. So we reduce the risk of delivering our products. I think the third one is the most important one, is to understand what users truly need. So business partners can propose some ideas and adjust their needs to generate real values in the mock-up phase. But the point is, last year I ran into an issue where I was working on a project with my partners, and then I was using Figma to deliver to create some mock-up to make sure that, hey, the vision was aligned with their expectation. But after that, we realized that, hey, actually Tableau visualization did not really support the vision they want to head towards. So they switched to another solution, and which was great because the goal of a prototype is to fail fast. We want to fail really fast to save data engineering and this development resources, because hiring data engineer, hiring designer can be really expensive. And then also me as a designer or prototyping designer, it's only causing one person to make sure that, hey, that's not the route we want to take. So it's saving a lot of time and resources from getting other people involved. So at last, I just want to do a recap to show you how do we get here. So in the very beginnings, we have some pain point because our business partner, they deliver PowerPoint mockup, which was not exactly in line with what they need, what they want, and then it was all over the place, and then we don't want that process to be in our workflow anymore. So I want to push everything. I want to push the feedback loop before the development phase to make sure that we capture all the requirements and all the feedbacks before dive into Tableau development. And after capturing all the requirements using Hi-Fi Mockup, we smoothen the dashboard development process because we remove all the noises beforehand. And I know I talked a lot, but if there's only one thing if there's only one key takeaway I want you to learn from this presentation, is by incorporating prototyping, the team delivers dashboard with better usability, quality, and trust. You can connect me on LinkedIn. My name is Li-Lun too, and then I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. So on the right-hand side, this is my QR code. And lately, I've been running a YouTube channel. I'm pretty passionate about teaching and sharing knowledge. So I'm running a YouTube channel sharing Tableau knowledge in Mandarin, because I know lots of English speakers, they share knowledge in English. And I was like, okay, so there's not lots of channels teaching Tableau in Mandarin. And then why not just make sure that, Mandarin speaker, if some of the Mandarin speaker, they don't listen to English channel, I can make knowledge more accessible. So, feel free, if you are a Mandarin speaker, feel free to subscribe my channel. I'm trying to bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and, and real life challenge, because I really want to bridge the gap. So feel free to subscribe my channel. And then if you want to access to my slides, you can just access to it on my Tableau public. And also the QR code is over here. You can just download it if you're interested in, and if you want to, also optimize your current Viz development process on your team, you can also share this with your team members, with your manager. So with that, I hope you enjoy my presentations, and I hope you learned something. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, too. I have a quick question. How do you generate the QR code for your dashboard? Is it native with Tableau?
Generate the QR code for my dashboard. That's public, right?
Sorry, what was that?
That's Tableau public.
Yeah. Oh, so Tableau Public offers that as an option. I didn't know.
No, I just randomly search QR code generator and then pull my link. Yeah.
I see. So there's a QR code generator that
Yeah.
allows you to put in like URL.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Does anyone have any question for Tu?
I
Yeah,
have a
well,
question. Go ahead.
no, you can go ahead. I'll ask you later.
Thanks. Thanks a lot for the presentation. I really like the idea how you bridge the gap between business concept and context with your technical development in Tableau. And I'm interested in hearing more about the prototype process. Now, in the Figma and the way you are currently doing it, I can see a lot of visuals being built. But when it comes to interaction, and sometimes when you hear a business case and you think about, wow, that might be cool to use some parameter action, some drill down, some dynamic zone visibility that you may not know would be feasible or not. In that case, how would you loop that process into your prototype process, and what are some tricks you would love to share about communicating that possibility with your business partner?
Yeah, Stanley, thanks for the question. This is a very good question, and I did not bring this one up in the presentation. So yeah, so the prototyping tool I'm currently using is Figma, and in Figma there's a capability called prototyping mode. So it's kind of like the PowerPoint. It's kind of like an augmented PowerPoint, meaning if you go to a prototyping mode, when you click on it, if you click on a button, it's gonna navigate you to another page of the prototype, and that's how you create interaction. So for example, let's say you want to create I would say dynamic zone visibility. What I did was I share my screen with my business partner and said like, hey, when you click on that icon, when you click on it, it's gonna give you another pop-up and drill down into different level of visual. And that's how I use it. So if you want to learn more about this, you can just go on Google and search prototyping mode in Figma.
Thanks. Thanks for the great presentation too.
Yeah, well, I have a quick question, and yeah, it was a great presentation to begin with. So, and I just want to know, like, how often do like BI teams get in touch with business partners for taking a feedback on the visualization of the dashboard?
Okay, so I would say most of the time when I have, it depends on it depends on my understanding of the business, and also it depends on how they deliver the information. But every time when I create a lo-fi mockup, I'll just ask them those questions, and then they are gonna give me a lot of direction. It can be, hey, this is not what I'm looking for. So yeah, I have to go back. I have to go back and just recreate one and say, hey, okay, so I gave you several options, A, B, C, and then I mean, which one is more aligned with your vision? So by it's kind of like sometimes can be a guessing game, but I would say the main purpose is to fail fast. It's not about you're not gonna hit it all one time. So I would say just try different options and give your user the ability to choose. And I think the
And
most
also,
valuable.
like, yeah. So, and also while creating a mock-up, so do you take input from the business partners in the beginning, or like do you create one and like show to them and like take an opinion from them?
Say that again. Elaborate.
So while creating a mock-up, so do you take input from the business partners in the beginning, or like you create one and like give them an option for the mock-up?
It depends on the scenario, because sometimes when we were having discussion, sometimes I do things on the fly. Because when they propose something like that, I would just draw some shape and say like, hey, the KPI will be on the left, the KPI will be on the right, and then this is what I'm envisioning, and then is that clear? And then and then they will say, okay, I love that. Could you clean up some visual chart type, and then after 2 days we're gonna meet one more time to clarify everything. So I would say it depends on how well we capture, because it varies. But as you understand the business more, I would say the faster you can deliver your lo-fi mockup.
Thank you so much.
All right, if no more questions, we can do one more round of price drawing.
All right.
And thank you so much too.
Awesome.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh, congratulations, Rahul. Make sure you send your email address in the chat so we know where to send the gift card.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
On